get the late to the pros. If the Jets or the Giants play, you already know we roasting them, cooking them, put them on the grill. Sports talk artillery, yeah, we too real. King with the stats, coach with the smoke. WTF Nation, laugh till you choke. Wednesday, heat, 8 p.m., no debate. Sports Bar Nation, we never show up late. Oh, this is the Sports Bar. Wednesday nights we go hard. Veterans strong and we stand tall. WTF Nation, we run the ball. Hey, hey, turn the lights on. It's Sports Bar, come get your hype on. Hey, turn the lights on. It's Sports Bar, come get your hype on. WTF Nation, Wednesday domination. King and coach in rotation. The Sports Bar's sensation. From kickoff to buzzer beaters, we break it all down. Wednesday 8 p.m. the live show in town. It's the Sports Bar where legends hang out. WTF Nation Radio. We are.
Yeah, what's up? What's good? What's happening? Welcome to the Sports Bar. I am the actual King Smith, U.S. Air Force veteran, here with the Sports Bar WTF Nation Radio. Tonight will be a solo show tonight as Coach got a case of the Jets. Now, Coach is dealing with some things right now, so tonight is going to be a solo show. For about the next hour, we'll see how this goes. Y'all are going to get this face giving you all things sportsing. Tonight's going to be a bit of a hybrid show, as the original plan was to give the state of sports as we see it, as we only know how, across all of the major sports and some of the smaller sports as well. However, with Coach not being absent, or not being present and being absent, I had to make a bit of a pivot, if you will. So what we're going to do is we are going to start off, before we get into the state of all things sports, and by getting into our playoffs for the WTF Nation Radio Listeners League. So let's give an update on that, see where we're at, see what's happening, and take a look at who is likely to advance. Remember, the winner in our WTF Nation Radio Listeners League is going to win a $50 gift card to Amazon, as well as a pair of Jordan 1s, size to your feetsies, delivered to your doorstep, paid for by us. Because that's what we do here. Unless it's me. If I'm winning, which is likely going to be that way, then I'm just going to pay myself and get myself my first pair of Jordans, as I have never in my life owned a pair of J's. Now, if you're watching this across multiple platforms, there is likely a like button. So whether you're catching this on Twitter, X, Facebook, or YouTube, see that thing scrolling down there at the bottom, doing like that right there? Hit the like button. That helps us out on the algorithm. That's the algorithms, if you will. So we went into the first round of the playoffs. Our playoffs are set up as a 2-week playoffs where you take the combined score from the week 15 and week 16, and whoever has the highest, they advance to the championship round, which goes through week 17 and week 18. Now, let me tell you where I messed up at. A, you don't want to end a fantasy season on the last week, because with the playoffs in a lot, teams are going to want to, some teams, rest their starters. People aren't going to be playing as hard. So it's hard to kind of like predict who's going to be playing. So it does require a little bit of extra eyes set to your teams. And if I would have looked at it a little bit harder, I would also not have done that. And I wouldn't have had a double playoff week. I would have set it at a single week where whoever has the highest after 1 week advance. And we had 14 teams. Another thing that, you can say it made it more competitive, if you will, is instead of having 4 teams advance, we could have had like 8 teams, half the field, maybe even 6 if you want to shorten it and have kept it down to 3 weeks. But this is going to be our final year running it in this format, as we need to give people something to have a little bit more skin in the game. So next year, we're going to look at doing it as a elimination style where you pick, I forget the technical term for it, but you pick your teams, and once you use that team, you can't use that team going into the next week. And whoever makes it to the end that still has picks, that hasn't picked the wrong team, that doesn't go on to advance, they're the ones that win. Now, that could only go 5-6 weeks, especially if you pick a game and that team is the one that is favored to win, and they turn around and get upset. That can knock a lot of people out. But that's the format that we're going to use for fantasy for next year, because when it's free to join, and we're paying people stuff, but when it's free to join, you really don't have that much skin in the game to follow up and keep up with your teams. But the other format, I think, will be a little bit better to get people to do that. Now, I ended up having all of the players that ended up going off, but so did my opponent. And we're in a PPR league. Now, the people that I had that went off that played well above average, I ended up having Trey McBride, who did great. Let me see the actual score here. I need the actual scoring breakdown from week 15. Not what was predicted. Why is this not showing up properly? Here we go. All right. So this is what actually went down between me and Robin, and what Robin did. I had Trey McBride. 37.4 fantasy points. Bijan Robinson, 29.5. Drake May, who's having a real life MVP season, in which that loss to Buffalo, tragic. But I played all of the right players. The only thing that I could have done better was slid in and ran a double tight end. This was the week for tight ends for fantasy purposes, and I could have played Dalton Schultz, who put up 21.6 fantasy points, and played Dalton Schultz in my flex, right? Now, again, ultimately, because this is a 2 week, it doesn't matter, but it could come down to, especially with us being within 4 points, it could come down to what that difference was between what was on your bench and what you actually played. My low player and everybody had Pickens going bananas against that weak ass Vikings defense and defensive secondary, who ended up getting 6.3 fantasy points. That's what screwed me. That screwed me all the way. Now, looking at what my opponent did, look, she also had the nuts as well. To have the galls to play Trevion Henderson at the flex, followed by Travis Etienne as your RB2. Look, that right there, that 61.6 points definitely helped her out. She also had Kobe Parkinson, one of the great tight ends that played well. Again, tight ends, Darren Waller in a 15-28 loss where the Dolphins lost against Pittsburgh. Darren Waller came in and had 25.6 PPR fantasy points. She played all of the right players. And if I look at this correct, let me double check. The only position that she could have played better at was to have played Mike Evans, who ended up getting injured in that game, who had 19.2 over Jawan Jennings, who had 18.7 fantasy points. That's the only thing that she could have done better at, right? So look, shout out to her for managing her team well. But again, it's a 2 week season. Now, sliding over to the other people that's in our fantasy league, Heath had the third highest score for the week and ended up having a 40-point, about a 40-point lead over CQ. And I just don't see CQ being able to come back over 40 points, especially going into the last 2 weeks where things can be a lot unpredictable. Now, I just got something here, and I want to see if I can download it without the sound. All right, here we go. All right, so shout out to my producer for sending me something here. I'm going to play that on the screen. So how do I see our fantasy season ending? I see it ending with me as the champion. All right, I'm going to be doing the, let me see if I got this right. This is how I'm going to be celebrating. That's not the right sound effect. I thought my producers was looking out for me, but it looks like they are not. All right, so before we get into it, let's get in here. I got a clip of Ja Rule. Shout out to my associate producer for sending me this clip here. Before we transition over, I want to showcase this real quick. Let me get here, share my screen, and where are you at here? Here we go. This is that's not going to work. I'm not going to be able to show it because that is not going to work properly. All right, you know what? Here, I can do it this way. I don't know if y'all play golf. I suck at it. I've tried it. Some about the game is just wrong for me. Swinging the club with these short T-Rex arms just don't want to seem to go right. But here's a clip of celebrity rapper, if you will, Ja Rule, swinging and playing golf and ended up almost taking somebody's eyes out. Let's take a look.
Y'all right now, I gotta put this thing up.
Oh, nut check. Hold on, run that back.
I gotta ignore y'all right now. I gotta put this thing up.
Ooh. Ouch. This is why I don't watch golf. Golf is boring to me. There is nothing exciting about the sport of golf that would make me watch it. Absolutely nothing. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Now, if you decided to pay me to play some golf, then that's a whole different ball game. But shout out to you, my associate producer, for sending me that clip. Now, let's get to the state of sports, if you will. Let's get to the state of sports and how I'm looking at. We've got the highlights from this past year. We've got the lowlights as well, and just some predictions and how we're going to look at grading things here going into 2026 and beyond. Let's start with, I'm going to start off with the NFL. The NFL in 2025, I guess you would call this the year of the rookie QB revolution. We saw 3 first-year starters lead their teams to winning records by December. Now, here's some of the highlights. I don't think anybody saw the teams that are leading in the NFL right now doing what they're doing. The Patriots sitting at 11-3. You've got the Denver Broncos at 12-2. The Jacksonville Jaguars leading the division of the AFC South over the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts, which with the Colts, the first 7 to 8 weeks starting out great. And then they've dropped every game when their quarterback, Daniel Jones, have gotten hurt. And I don't understand the decision to sign Phillip Rivers with his 10,000 kids at this point to finish out and try to get them through the playoffs. I don't know if that was the right move. Why did the Indianapolis Colts, why didn't they already have a battle-tested quarterback on their roster that should something happen to Daniel Jones, that quarterback could have stepped in and made the move, or 2 battle-tested quarterbacks, because their original second string did go down. It doesn't make any sense to me. All right. Everything else that happened around the NFL, you can kind of expect it to happen the way that it did. I would say that we're seeing backup quarterbacks winning games. I don't believe that there's anything as easy wins now in the NFL, but we're also starting to see, I think, where quarterbacks are definitely the wave of the future. You can get away with having mediocre positions across other positions in the NFL, but you need a good quarterback to be able to lead your team to victory. Some of the lowlights that we've seen around the NFL in October, there was a rash of injuries very early on. Several non-contact injuries in which we lost 3 Pro Bowl quarterbacks to non-contact injuries all in a single week. I think that the league has to address the grass versus turf debate this offseason as it's affecting the football product overall. I would give the NFL this past season a B+, as the parity of the league is insane. But the officiating is still where I think a lot of people are going to have problems. And then also, it's all of the different networks that these games are on. You got to tune in to Thursday Night Football on Amazon to be able to catch that, right? Sunday, you've got games on NBC, CBS. You've got the Sunday Night Football game. The Monday night game, that is what, NBC, Peacock? And just being able to have and pay all of these different subscription fees or cable fees just to be able to watch all of the different games. Or you could shell out, what is it, $500 to be able to watch something like the NFL Red Zone product, but that's only going to get you the Sunday games. Now, most American households have Amazon Prime. And Prime even offers a discounted rate for students and young people that aren't necessarily entrenched in money and swimming in money. All right. Now, how do I see the Super Bowl? Oh, man, the NFC is going to be tricky as there's a lot of teams that could do well once they get to the playoffs. I think that the NFC North has a lot of pretender teams. It looked like it was going to be the Detroit Lions early on, as they had one of the best defenses out there. But they haven't been scoring points the way that Philly has, whereas Philly has put up, they're not even top 5 in points for. But they do have the second best defense according to points against in the league. The Chicago Bears are top of the NFC North. So that should tell you something about how the NFC is looking. It's a lot more parity in the NFC, and I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers to make it to the championship game out of the NFC. Now, moving over to the AFC, everybody is happy and excited that the Chiefs are no longer in the playoffs hunt. Their reign in the AFC West is over. Dunzo. They are 6-8. 6-8. I blame Taylor Swift. That's who I blame. I blame Taylor Swift and the Swifties. And y'all can come at me if y'all want to, Swifties. I'm built for this. Yeah. I think the AFC, it's going to be between the Patriots and the Broncos, and not just because they've got the better record. They're just two of the better teams in the AFC overall. I would love it if the Baltimore Ravens could figure some things out, but we're going to need help to make it to the playoffs. We need the Steelers to lose one of the next 3 games and for the Ravens to win that final game as well. So the Steelers have to the Steelers have to lose 2 of the next 3. They have to lose 2 of the next 3 in order for the Ravens to even make it. And it doesn't look like the Ravens have enough to be able to get a wild card spot either, because you've got the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts with a better record, as well as the Chargers, who are sitting at 10-4. So you got the Chargers at 10-4, the Bills at 10-4. If you were to say, King, pick one, I'm going to go with the team that plays better at home. And if the Denver Broncos end up as the top seed, then I'm going to say the Denver Broncos are going to be the team that makes it to the Super Bowl, as they have the better home record. They have not lost a game at home, period. Now, if the Patriots are playing on the road, they're 6-0 on the road. They seem to know how to travel and win games. Gun to my head, I'm going to take the Broncos. We're going to see the Broncos playing against the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl. Calling it now. You can book that. Let's see if we have any comments before I continue. Shout out to God Happened to Me over on YouTube that said, good evening. Good evening to you, babe. I appreciate you and thank you for tuning in. My 2026 prediction for the NFL before I move over, I think we're going to see more international games. It looks like the NFL is intentional about trying to market that. We're going to see fewer traditional pocket quarterbacks. If you look at some of the quarterback prospects that are coming out of the NCAA, they're more of your improviser type quarterbacks that can move outside the pocket. We're not going to see sit in the pocket type passers going forward. I think that's just the evolution of the game. You can still get your guys like Josh Allen that are tall, but they're tall and mobile and they move. And I think that the league is going to be forced to address the officiating transparency. It has to get better. It simply has to get better. Now, let's move over to my next sport here. Let's go over to the NBA state of the league, right? Now, we're looking at the NBA. Let me go up and get my notes here. I think that the NBA Cup is a success. It gives teams motivation early on to produce and produce well, pad their pockets, right? And for the fans of the sport, it allows you to be able to be invested into the product early. For example, when you look at what the Major League Baseball has, which we're going to get into MLB a little bit later on. Major League Baseball, nobody cares about the first half of the season. They're not really playing for much in the first half, other than positions to make sure that you've got the games up to be able to make it to the playoffs. So I think that the NBA Cup was a success, but we've had the first bit of controversy surrounding it. And we're going to get into that here in a second. But it gives the early season basketball meaning, which is great for the sport. And I also think that what the NBA doing for the youth is great. The league is no longer waiting for the next face. When they get these guys very early on, they're putting them out there. Take a look at Victor Wembanyama, Anthony Edwards. Hardly many people are talking about Anthony Edwards this year like how they were talking about him last year. This year's darling seems to be Jalen Brunson. LeBron's the GOAT. He's going to always be there, right? But now we're getting some of these young faces that they're starting to promote and promote early, okay? Some of the lowlights that I see, speaking of the state of NBA, is load management. I would love to go to the Washington Wizards Lakers game that's coming up in February. I was looking at the tickets. Now, I think I might have an avenue to be able to get some tickets as media, but I was looking at tickets myself in case I didn't want to go the media route, or I was just unable to go the media route. And when the Wizards, who's the market that's closest to me, are playing some of the other teams like Philadelphia, Milwaukee, or some of these other different market teams that don't have a trio of superstars like LeBron James and Luka and Austin Reeves, which we're going to call Austin Reeves a superstar. AR has earned it. the ticket prices are lower than when the Lakers come in. I looked at some of the tickets for a different game in the same seat at the same section, and they were 6x in value when the Lakers come into town. But what if they're doing that load management thing that they have? And with LeBron's age, right? We're not going to be able to expect him to play every game this season. He already hasn't done that. Even when they come out of their rest, you could see some load management happens. And I think that load management kills fan trust. So that's where I'm going with that. You can't charge premium prices for a game just because a star is on the team, but then you sit stars with no real explanation. I know I would be highly upset because I want to see LeBron play. I'm not a Lakers fan. I'm a LeBron fan. So I would love to see LeBron play. And if I were to pay those premium prices and he sits, I'd have something to say about that, as most other fans would. I also think when you add in another low light, when you look at super teams like what the Rockets have done, you can even say the Clippers. The Clippers, I don't care what you say, when you look at their roster and the names, you can kind of call them a super team. Just because they have a quote-unquote super team, it doesn't mean that you've got chemistry out there. You still got to play solid basketball. You need one great leader. It doesn't have to be a ball handler. You just need a player that's also like a coach that's going to be out there getting his players to play above what they would normally play as. I think that's what good players do. That's what great players do. Okay. I'll give the NBA this past year, 2025, a B. And how am I looking at the NBA going forward? I think that we're going to see rule tweaks that are going to favor defense coming forward. I know the old saying is offense brings fans, defense wins championships. I think players are starting to get upset about the way that some of these fouls are being called. Some of the moves that players are doing that are just skirting what the official rules are for the NBA. I think that we're going to see rules that are going to favor the defense coming up. I think that there's going to be a pendulum swing back towards a defensive side of the house. And I think you're going to see GMs and coaches that are going to favor roster continuity over star stacking. And part of that's going to be getting players that are used to certain systems and just each other. If you've got pieces of stuff moving all the time, then it's hard for you to build up that chemistry when you don't know if you're going to be playing with the same people month in and month out, or year in and year out. Think about what the San Antonio Spurs did back in their old dynasty. I think you're going to see a lot of teams, especially the teams that are going to win championships, that they're going to win championships with rosters that have been built together to last over teams that are selling tickets because they're bringing in superstars. I know that the NBA is a business, but they're still trying to win games too. So that's my take on the state of the NBA. Do we have any comments before I continue? No, I don't. So let's move over to the next sport. Let's look at NCAA men's and women's basketball, sticking to that sport. I think that for the most part, when you're looking at men's college basketball, it's March Madness. Again, a lot of the earlier parts of the season, people don't necessarily care about. But March Madness is marketable, and there's nothing else like it. You get people that normally don't even follow NCAA basketball, men's or women. They start following once March Madness happens, right? And I think that when you look at the women's side of college basketball, it has increased. It has gotten better. And I think that is due to the WNBA, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit later on as well. I have a homie whose daughter is playing Division I basketball. And for what I've seen, I don't know. I'm not a talent scout or anything. She might have a chance to play at the next level, right? Continue on and earn. So I think that what the NCAA side of the house is doing is they're building to that. Because if you can market the women's game as well, then you've got that growth where you can start putting more butts and seats and things like that. I think that they're going to find a way to increase that, because if you increase that visibility as well, then you're going to be able to bring in more revenue. It is what it is. When it comes to the college side of the house, it's going to be the exact same thing that's going to hurt any college sports, and that's the transfer portal, period. Where we talked about continuity over at the NBA, you're not going to see continuity at the NCAA ranks anymore. It's not going to exist. Roster continuity is a thing of the past with the transfer portal and NIL. What they're doing as a whole, it's working. What other choice do these young kids have? I think if some business-minded individual with a lot of money would be able to come in and do something like the Big Three, where you offered an amateur league, but then now you're going to be fighting lobbyists and things to get into these cities. You're going to have to build around it. You're going to need to be able to market well. If you could get an amateur league early, then I think you could cut into what the NCAA has with some of these athletes. Imagine leaving high school and being able to make, because even with the NIL, with the NIL, the top players are the ones that's really making bukus of cash. But what if the average person could go right into an amateur league that's professional, skip class in school and college, earn money, and then take that and farm it into the pros? I don't think it's going to happen. So for now, the NCAA is going to be able to reign supreme on getting those student athletes out of high school into NCAA men's and women's basketball. So for that, I'm going to rate NCAA men's and women's basketball at A-. I think that we're going to see women's NIL money explode in 2026. And I think that you're going to have portal transfer reforms happening to be able to stabilize rosters and stabilize the sport, if you will. Make it so that you've got to really jump through hoops and hurdles to be able to get into the portal and transfer. That's what I see for that. Let's come over to MLB and look at the state of Major League Baseball. For Major League Baseball, here's my outlook. I think for MLB, we're going to see some of the rule change be solidified. What they did over this past season, it worked. It made the games faster. That was one of the key things. The games were a lot faster. All right. Shorter games mean more action, and more action means younger fans paying attention. Period. What were some of the lowlights? If you had money, then your rosters won. Financial imbalance is real in MLB. Smaller markets can't compete long term against the bigger market teams. So with that, I rated a B. I don't have much on MLB because it's not a sport that I watch on the regular. That's coach's sport. For the 2026 prediction for MLB, I think that they're going to have to really sit down and figure out things around the salary cap, because the salary cap conversation can no longer become unavoidable. Baseball used to be America's sport, if you will. I think it's still there. They're going to have to add some things to be able to get people to leave the comfort of their home and be able to go and catch a game at the stadium. The last game that I went to, I couldn't tell you. I think it was a Braves game before I joined the military. And I joined the military in 2002. I don't live that far from the DC team. I've had opportunities to go and haven't. There's a semi-pro league here in the city that I live in, and I've been to a couple of their games. It's fun when you're looking at the other things that the like the fan participation stuff that they're offer as well. I had a good buddy of mine, and I wish I had this clip queued up. I had a buddy of mine end up doing like a relay down, and he ended up winning, right? So if you can offer stuff like that for the fans, then it can make it fun, maybe even a chance to win stuff, get some of that audience participation as a part of the game, make it a whole experience. I think if they look at bringing more of that into the game, then you can see people participating, because now it's like, hey, you can go to the game, support your team or players that you're there to support, and there's a shot that you could be like the next contestant. Come on down. You're the next contestant in MLB, right? So I think that that's what I see going into 2026. I think we're going to see more talk around that fan engagement. Now, to Coach's favorite sport, the WNBA. Let's get to the WNBA state of the league. But before I do, let's see. We got some comments here. Michael Carasquillo, shout out to him, said, baseball is so boring. And God happened to me said, I need help understanding fantasy leagues. I got you, boo. I got you. I would love to have you in one of the fantasy leagues. I'm going to tell you right now, relationships are truly tested when it comes to fantasy leagues. That can make or break a relationship in fantasy. But I think our relationship is strong enough that it can make it. All right. But I got you. I will help you understand fantasy leagues going forward. Let's take a look at the WNBA. The WNBA state of the league. This was one of the WNBA's breakout year. All right. Attendance was up. Ratings were up. Star power was everywhere. And a lot of the players that were stars took advantage of that. And I don't believe that it was forced. I don't think that it was an agenda type thing. I think it was earned. There were conversations around the league, and I think you started to see more media around it and more people actually caring, more people buying jerseys, more people going to games. That was some of the highlights. What are some of the lowlights? It's still, to me, in its infancy, and I think there are growing pains still, right? And I think that we got a lot of new fans that were clashing with a lot of old narratives around the WNBA, and they're going to have to get the old stink of the old WNBA washed off. I will attend a WNBA game here coming up. I think if I were to give them a grade, it'd be an A, because of what they were able to do marketing-wise, what a lot of the individual players were able to do marketing themselves as well. Angel Reese was talked about everywhere. That's the darling. That's the darling. She's got to figure out. She's also got to win games. Caitlin Clark being hurt as long as she was didn't help. But if Angel Reese can win games, I don't think that there's anything that she can't do. Now, will she have to then, because she's been doing the Victoria's Secret stuff. She's gotten herself out there as a model. I mean, she's building up her personal brand, but I don't think she's known for basketball, and that's what's going to hurt her. Not an expert here. That is just my 2 cents sitting in this chair talking about the state of the league for the WNBA. My 2026 prediction for this upcoming year, There's talks about expansion teams, getting more teams out there, right? That can be good when you've got more teams out there across other markets. We're going to see bigger TV deals for the WNBA. And I think we're going to see the league stop apologizing for its success. The league's arrived. The players have arrived. They're going to have to build up the momentum and be intentional about what they do. That's my 2 cents. Let's move over to hockey. Let's take a look at the state of hockey here. Put this up on the screen. Let's see. With hockey, I think hockey for right now technically is still the purest playoff sport with intensity, urgency, and a lot of physicality. I don't think any other sport right now touches that when it comes to the product that hockey is able to put out. And it's going to stay that way. Some of the lowlights over the past year, though, I think that that hockey struggles to market stars to some of its casual fans. Now, even though I don't keep up with hockey, is Alex Ovechkin still playing? I couldn't tell you a single hockey star's name right now. It's not a sport that I keep up with. I keep up with hockey news for doing this, but I don't keep up with the sport like that. I think hockey is going to have to do a better job of marketing their players, period. Marketing their stars. For a grade, I give them a B+. They don't fall into the A category. And looking ahead at 2026, they're going to have to figure out a way to have more U.S. growth, either through media deals, getting the hockey stars out there. How often, like the NFL, you see those players getting out in the city. They're doing things like the Baltimore Ravens recently just had something where their star players went to schools and they were washing students' feet. Now, if you're not a feet person, that could have been interesting. But they were washing people's feet, right? They're out there. They're doing this like during the season too. There's a lot of off-season stuff that occurs that the individual players do that aren't necessarily related to anything that the team has going on. I don't see hockey doing that. I think hockey has to do a better job of getting themselves out there in the community to be able to raise the state of hockey to new fans and some of your more casual fans. Let's take a look at what motorsports did. This was a great year for motorsports. Motorsports went global. They absolutely went global. And the movie F1, love that movie. If you have not seen the F1 movie, it is a must-see movie for me. I'm recommending it as a must-see. Brad Pitt did the damn thing in that one. Looks like we have a comment here. Let's see. Got up to me said, I think that it's hard for sports to compete with football and football, aka soccer. Now I agree. It's harder to compete because it's also a harder sport to play at a younger age. There's a lot more equipment you have to buy. There's not a lot of places that like a football and soccer, you can go play at any field, indoors and outdoors. Hockey's a whole different, it's a whole different sport. When I lived down south, I never knew anybody that did any kind of hockey, whether it was roller hockey or ice hockey. And I'm not even so sure if roller hockey transfers over to ice hockey that well. I'm not sure. I don't know. I didn't even know anybody that did roller hockey. Got after me said, also, the Ravens are coming to the school next door on Friday. I need to find a way to creep out. Hey, that's dope. That's dope. Find a way to creep out. Pull up. I don't know. Tell your admin that you're teacher of the year, and as teacher of the year, you deserve to go over next door and check out the Ravens. That's pretty cool that they're going to be right down the road from us. Hope you're able to make it. Good luck to you. Let's move over to what I say, motorsports. Motorsports and the state of racing. Motorsports, they get an A for their grade. I think that with motorsports being as global as it is, all of the different racing events that occur, streaming and social media definitely got it more into people's faces. F1 is an event that I need to attend, but I don't want to attend F1 as like a casual. I need that VIP access that I know. I know one person personally who paid 10 grand for like the VIP experience, and they said that it was 10 grand worth it. Now, this person also had 10 grand in money to be able to do that. I don't. But I would love to get some type of VIP treatment just once at an F1 event. And I would love to see like F1 in Vegas. Right? Some of the lowlights, though, I think fans want to see more competition. Just as I was scouring, trying to see what people didn't like about motorsports and racing in general, it seems like it's the usual names up at the top. Now, if that's because they've got the better drivers, trainers, and all of that jazz, then it is what it is. Everybody else needs to step up. But from what I read, fans want a lot more competition and not just see the inevitable names at the top every single time. My 2026 prediction for motorsports in general, I think you'll see new faces. New faces are going to break through your smaller market teams. They don't necessarily have the financial backing as some of the big teams. I think a darling or two is going to emerge and be that next big story that motorsports can put out there and market and get people excited for it. All right. Now we've got a couple of miscellaneous sports that I'm going to highlight and things as well. God having to me said, again, you've got to take your lady with you to F1. Here's the thing. All of this stuff that you want to come with me, because I be making all these grand plans, right? And this is so off script here. I make all these grand plans, and my lady goes, but I don't hear me in them because it costs money for both of us to do stuff. And we got to get our money up. Let's work to get our money up. We work to get our money up. We can do all things together that I be talking about. But until that money come up, I got things I got to do. And it is what it is. Let me get this off the screen here. When I take a look at some of the other sports, we've got the Winter Olympics coming up. We've got the World Cups coming up. I think that we're going to see politics play a lot into some of the international events that we have coming up. It's inevitable. You really can't avoid the politic talk with a lot of the international competitions and stuff that's coming up. I'm looking forward to it, though. I also think that if cities and places aren't careful, that they're going to see some cost overruns that they're not going to really be able to account for. And some of these cities that are hosting a lot of these international events are going to really ask themselves if it's worth it to do it again in the future. But I think that international sports have a way of uniting people in a way that domestic leagues just can't. So it's good to have it. It's great for some of these cities to host it. Businesses are going to be able to make dough, but it's going to come with a lot of pollution, noise, crime that just can't be avoided. But we're still going to look forward to it. For things like combat sports, esports is here. high schools are building curriculum around esports and having esports teams where students are competing in video games and they're winning scholarships. They're winning cash money. They're going on and getting brand deals with Monster Energy Drink and some of these other companies, right? I think we're going to see that stuff expand. Like, what are the people actually doing? Flag football. Flag football has found its way to international success. It's one of those sports that it's easy to pick up on. Is it here to stay? Time will tell. Combat sports has started to kind of die down a bit. You don't see many people really talking about mixed martial arts like how they were when it first came out. A lot of the OG names are fading out. And a lot of the new stars, they're just not being pumped up that well. Is it because we have more access and it's easier to watch? When you take a look at what boxing's done and what Jake Paul and his production company, MVP, has tried to do, they get eyeballs, they get numbers to the sport. But is it is it really going to grow? Are they really going to push it? Are they going to be able to sustain? That's the thing. I don't think that for things like esports and combat sports, it's not popularity that's going to be able to keep them from doing well. I think it's sustainability. Okay. Overall, a lot of the entrenched leagues are thriving, right? Some are going to need to adjust. And others, again, time will tell. I want to end the show by taking a look at the bowl games and bowl season that's coming up here. When we take a look at some of the games that have already kicked off, we do have a final. So there were Boise versus Washington, in which Washington beat Boise 38-10. In my hometown, Jacksonville State won a bowl game over Troy. Both colleges out of Alabama. Jacksonville State won 17-13. Old Dominion ended up upsetting South Florida, winning that game today. That final just occurred, 24-10. And currently playing in the 68 Ventures Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, you have the 6-6 Louisiana Raging Cajuns playing against the 6-6 Delaware team. It's in the first quarter. That game just started. It is 0-0. Let me take a look at this game. Vegas has Louisiana favored to win by 1.5 points. All right. But with a 60.5 total spread, looks like even though it's starting out slow, it might be a shootout. I'm going to say that Louisiana is going to be able to play better and end up winning that game, being that the game is from the South and Delaware, having to travel from Delaware down south to Mobile. They're not going to be ready for that Mobile humidity. The college football playoffs are on Friday, in which Alabama is going to kick off the first game and play against the Oklahoma Sooners here. Now, I want Alabama to win bigly. And as of right now, and I'm going to show y'all on the screen here, according to ESPN odds, Alabama's favored to win that game by 1.5. The over-under is tight at 41. It's low at 41.5, which indicates a low-scoring game, but I don't know. I don't think we're going to need to see two things as an Alabama fan. We're going to need to see Alabama's offense come out early and play great early. They seem to not start well early in the first quarter. It takes them about 1.5 to really get things rolling. If they could start out and show good offense early on, then they're going to have success. They haven't been a team that's ran the ball at all this season. I don't know why Coach DeBoer favors the type of offense that he favors, but it ain't working. I think if they could find success on the ball running, then they could get things going. If not, then Oklahoma's going to win that game. But they're kicking off the first from the college football playoffs. But there's several bowl games that are going on between Friday, Saturday, and pretty much every day after that, except on Sunday. And played on Sunday. The other big game played that people are going to be tuning into, you got the Miami versus Texas A&M game on Saturday at noon on ABC, ESPN. You got the Tulane and Mississippi game, which I'm going to call it and say this right here, right now. While Ole Miss is favored to be 16.5-point favorites, Tulane's going to be the one upset. I think Tulane is going to be the one upset that occurs in this year's bowl that is going to cause everybody to go, what the fuck? And at the money line at plus 650, I mean, if you throw down $100 bet, small money, you'll be able to take a pretty decent profit if they're able to pull that off. I think I'm going to do that. I might do that and show y'all my ticket by putting that. I'm going to see what the money line is at the casino. Make that bet and see what happens. I'm going to make that bet and see what happens. Got to happen to me laughed at the word bigly. I love that word. Bigly is one of my favorite words. Let's see. Let me take a look at my notes here and see if I covered everything. It looks like I covered everything. I wanted to showcase this video real quick as it cracked me up. There's two videos here. One, this is what Coach sent me this. So while Coach didn't necessarily send me any notes or anything, he did say this, and I've got to bring up the message to make sure that I read it right. He said, "This is my 2025 message to NASCAR, the New York Jets, Hal Steinbrenner, the WNBA, James Dolan, and everyone else that pissed him off in sports this year." Take a listen.
90キロで速い方100キロ超えたら Fuck you!
I'm pretty sure he just cussed. Let me run that back.
Fuck you!
あなたは何キロ？
知りたい人のスピード測定ボール速球王
Huh. I don't know. That sounded like he just cussed me out in some type of language. But that was Coach's message to all of those people that I mentioned above. This next video that I have is a reason why I don't want to play dodgeball, and I've got to put it on mute so that we don't get copyright stricken. But watch this dude take a three-piece in the worst way possible. Wow. He took one to the headshot, boop. Second ball's incoming as well as he's going down, nut shot, bow. And then he's on the ground, ass about to hit the floor, and he takes another headshot to the dome. Red, purple, green. Bow. Y'all, hey, when's the last time y'all played dodgeball? I'm 41. I can't think of the last time that I played dodgeball. Final video that I got that was sent in by a viewer. This kid thought he had a touchdown. This is a high school championship game.
Third down and long.
I'm gonna turn the volume down, but he didn't finish. Let's take a look. Double pass.
This might be a two-pass situation here. Zachary going to throw it downfield to a wide-open Cam Wood.
I don't understand why this keeps happening. Had the kid just ran and ran hard, boom, bow. That's a touchdown. But he wants to put his hand up in the air like, yeah, I got this, and get tackled and didn't score. He came off the field after that, and his team ended up scoring like 1 or 2 plays later. But that was your touchdown. You want to celebrate and celebrate early, only to get tackled because you couldn't sense that person was behind you because you wanted to showboat instead of getting in the end zone and scoring. He's lucky he didn't fumble too. Watch this right here. He's lucky he was able to still hold on to that. All right. Let me take that off. We here at the Sports Bar want to wish everybody a 2025 happy holidays. We are going to be shutting down the live streams over the next couple of weeks as the station is taking off. But that don't mean that there's not going to be content out there, right? Be sure to still tune in to WTF Nation Radio and U.S. Army WTF Moments, as we're still going to be putting up things for you, the viewers, because that's what we're here for. We are here for you. I'm going to leave this live stream with the following message. First of all, to everybody out there, happy holidays. Check on your buddies. The holiday season for a lot of veterans out there and their family members, it can either be a season of joy or a season of pain. Be sure to check on your buddies, check on your people. There are plenty of resources out there. I don't want to hear you say, I've tried using some of the resources, or I don't want to use the resources because they don't work. They do work. If you need help, reach out. Contact the resources. All right? Shoot an inbox or a message if you say you don't know what the resources are. Shoot a message to the inbox of WTF Nation Radio. We have a team of people that can point you in the right direction. Let's come back in 2026 even stronger and even better than ever. I hope to see some of y'all same faces tuning in to the Sports Bar at WTF Nation Radio. Let me double check the calendar here real quick and see if Radar is going to be on tonight. So it looks like Radar is going to be on tonight for the Smoke Pit. So come back here in about 54 minutes and tune in to the Smoke Pit tonight, hosted by Radar. I'm the actual King Smith, and I'm out. Have a good one. Peace.